Hi traders, welcome to this live currency strength indicator table video with me, John, on this Monday the 21st of August. Here you can see we have our tables in front of us here, and there's not been too much change. Technically over the weekend we are still looking more at the fact that the pound is S1 on our day traders and Aussie is W1, that followed by the New Zealand dollar. We have had some changes though in the past hour or two, where the yen was actually featured as the second strongest currency, and that has changed quite dramatically. So we've actually gone down to the 9 AM tables, just down through here. Yen was S3, it was S2 before that, and it just continued to drop away from this side of the table and has now appeared as W3. So what we're actually witnessing at the moment, I feel, is a bit of a shift in that risk tone. We're starting to see the yen weaken again, which could be something that we look to try and take advantage of. Now, I do quite like pound yen, so we're going to have a little look at that in a little bit. So stick around for that one. But we're going to just cover a couple of currencies that we covered last week first, just to kind of let you know where those positions are and kind of where we are now. So I'm actually flat in the market at this current moment in time. I took a Kiwi dollar short into the sort of close last week, basically off of this rejection at the 50 moving average. So my entry was around about 59.30. It then just, the price has just moved sideways, and what happened was most recently we'd come back down into this 59.10 handle, and you can see here all the action is going on down around about that 59.10. Price has come into there, we rallied, so basically some profit taken from this long-term downward trend that we've had. Again, price popped back into that level, it popped back up, so more profit taken. So every time we've kind of bounced into this zone, the market has recovered from there and basically took profits on their positions. So I was actually holding this because I saw that the New Zealand US dollar did remain on our tables. Now, just because it remains on the tables, we still have to do our due diligence. We still have to analyze what's going on. The other reason why I held it as well is because there was some rumors that the Bank of China would cut interest rates. Now, they only cut interest rates to their 1 year and not their 5 year, which was a little bit disappointing in the markets, and that's why I think we're seeing that little bit of risk on tone coming into the market this morning. So I did try and take hold that position, but at the time I was around about here, the 59.10 again. I said to myself, I'm going to see how price reacts here. If we get another rejection, I think I'm going to call it quits, and that's exactly what happened. We had another rejection. We then had a very sharp like sort of 15 minutes of bullishness coming from this low. So I ended up coming out just over break even. I think it was about 5 pips in the end. So unfortunately for me, you know, I'm out of that position now. I say unfortunately, but we managed this trade. We came out with no loss. Yes, it would have been nice to have seen price break down, because I was also looking at this weekly chart thinking there's a lot of room to go to the downside. If price was to come back to the 55.50 handle, that would have been some good going there. So, you know, price may still want to do that. But I'm going to be out of it for now. What I'm going to wait for is to see if price can break down this 59.10. You can see we've had multiple trendline breaches now. So the next sort of trendline breach is the one towards that 59.50 handle. So if we were to get in anywhere here and breach that, it would suggest probably the market is going to go into that risk on tone, and that we were probably going to see some further upside at that point. So I'm happy to close this position out. I had a very similar move on Aussie US dollar. I actually had a small loss on Aussie US dollar this morning. I was basically looking to play this kind of high range in here, and seeing if price could trade to the downside, especially because we did get a slight rejection. If I just go up to the hourly, sorry, and just pop, oh, there he is, the moving average. We had a slight rejection of the moving average this morning. You can see that just through there, the 50 EMA. So I did think there's potential for price to start breaking lower, but again, we've got this kind of long-term trend line that's been breached. And that's the early sort of warning signs that the market could be turning, but you never know. So I did hold that. My other kind of suspicion was if we were to hold this consolidation in here and break to the downside, there could be potentially a move on for us there. But risk sentiment really shifted in the past hour. I've closed this one out for a very, very small loss. So I'm looking across the board for some different opportunities. So I think the Aussie and Kiwi play at the moment might be a little bit out of the question because of that risk on tone. What I really want to be looking for now is sort of the pound, maybe even the euro against the sort of yen complex at the minute, because Charles sent me a screenshot of the dashboard. It was basically showing us that the yen was weakening quite significantly. So I want to try and take advantage of that potential yen weakness. One of those, like I said, that we could potentially look at is euro yen. And you can see the past few hours here, that yen really has begun to weaken. We broke above the 50 MA on the hourly, and we've rallied about 50-60 pips to the upside. Look at it from the daily, we've rejected the 158 handle. So is this the move that's going to breach the highs here at the 159, and is that where we're going to see price trying to take off for the yen? Now obviously 4 hours looking pretty decent there. What we need, or what I would like to see before price came back in for an entry, is basically we need a pullback. I can't try and chase that there, because if we were to chase it, the next resistance is 159.30. Obviously we've got the 159 posted in here as well. So if I was to go long here, I have a 28 pip reward. Where am I putting my stop? If I put my stop below that low, it's a 94 pip target, so that's not good for us. What I would like to see is a little bit of a strategy setup, really. I'd like to see price pull back down, maybe even consolidate around about 158.50. If we have a look here, there's this kind of cluster coming through there at 158.50. So I wouldn't mind price coming back to that, having a little rejection, and that could possibly give us an entry. I was going to dive live into pound yen, to be honest, because we were at a really good point. Now pound yen's been a nice chart for us. We've been looking to get long this market and been getting long this market due to this nice weekly sort of setup here. Really good weekly bullish trend, nice bullish weekly closes. Our overall target to the 188, so I do quite like being long pound yen. A couple of different options we could weigh up here. We could look at the break of the daily high with a stop below the daily low of 150 pips, targeting 200 pips, so just over a 1-to-1 return there. We could look at our lower time frames as well. So again, looking at the 4 hour time frame, you can see all this analysis we did previously of price breaking through those key areas. We've pulled back down into the area at 184.75. So you can actually see, if I just plot our trend line on here, looking left, and just put in the parameters of 184.75, we can actually see the market reject here. So we had a nice resistance, a support, and now price is acting as support again. I was watching the hourly. Now we could look at potentially here the entry at 185.75. Again, we're going to be entering though as price moves against us slightly, but that would be the break above the 50 MA trade. 125 pip stop loss. I would be fairly confident targeting 188 on this trade, so we still have a really good risk reward ratio there. That's 225 potential pips to be had. Alternatively, we can watch lower time frames. So I'm actually scaling in a little bit to the 30-minute. Reason being, I don't usually trade the 30-minute that sort of often, but you can kind of just see from a clearer perspective that, you know, price was consolidating down through here. We almost had a sort of triangle pattern forming, or even like a flag pattern forming, and price traded the opposite way to that. So, you know, if we could look for maybe some kind of areas of a retest, maybe perhaps at 185.50, I think that's where I'm going to be focusing my attention on. We also have this kind of cluster here as well, so there might be an opportunity to trade the break and retest off that, which would be around about the 186 handle, maybe even the 185.90. But that is where I think price is going to target at the moment, above these highs. The next level then is the 186.50, and then above that is that 188. So I think maybe just play a little bit of patience here. With pound yen. You can see in the past we have had those pullbacks. Oops, sorry, that was the wrong tool there. This is the tool I wanted. We have had that pullback come into the markets. You know, we had that little bit of a double top risk off play coming in towards the end of last week. We have now found support at the 184.75. We're now breaking in. We're seeing them breaking with that volume there. So I want to see a potential pullback into this little area here. If we can do that, then great. We're going to be looking for a potential entry into this market. So pound yen's definitely the one to watch for me. You can see it's on our tables, S1W3. I think that yen is probably going to start climbing this day traders side of our table. Let's actually flick over on here. Let's just give it a little refresh. Let's see if we get any kind of notification there that the yen is starting to move back to the upside. Obviously this does refresh as well, but I'd just like to click it manually just to give it, make sure that it has refreshed. But you know, the tables do auto update every 5 minutes. But yeah, the still sitting at W3 at the moment. I think that will change as the day goes on. You know, maybe if we head into the US session as well, the US may want to piggyback this move of that risk sentiment. So let's see what happens there. Hopefully we can get a couple of ideas on the yen pairs going into this week. Perhaps even dollar yen could be something that you look to potentially target. I know dollar yen is above the 145 handle at the moment, which is significant. Okay, we rejected the 145. That was the previous area where the Bank of Japan wanted to intervene. We're now breaking above that. So again, if we look at it from logic point of view, you know, a break of that daily high at 145.90 with a stop loss of 106 pips, which is the ATR, funnily enough, you know, that could be a possible good reward there, because 149 would be your ultimate targets there. That's 300 pips. There's a potential 3-to-1 risk reward ratio to be had on something like that. So keep your eyes on those. It depends on how you want to trade this market. Do you want to trade it from a swing trading point of view or a short time frame point of view? I've given you a couple of options there. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and it's happy trading, and I will speak to you in the next one.